Hi, it's Jo Painter here of confidencecoachingforwomen.co.uk, and I'm live today with my training session on how to rock your career in 2018. I'm really excited to be here and that you're joining me today to talk about how you can have the best ever year yet with your career. And I'm going to be talking about how to become visible, how to speak up, how to feel comfortable about promoting yourself in your career, how to get that pay rise or promotion that you really deserve. So it's fabulous to have you here. And this is the first time I've done a live webinar like this on the desktop. So please bear with me if the technology works, hopefully. So as I said today, we're going to be looking at how you can rock your career in 2018. So I'm going to be sharing with you 3 top tips and suggestions that I've used myself and that I've worked with the hundreds of clients that I've coached on this particular career transformation. And because this webinar today is live, you can type into the comments box just at the bottom there. I hope you can see it. Any questions or any comments as we go through. And I'll try to keep up with the questions and give you some answers as we go along. Okay. So just to say that the first point to make is that a lot of people think that this time of year is not the right time of year to be focusing on your career because they feel that it's a hectic and busy time. It's not the time. It's time to be focusing on giving to others and not thinking about yourself. When in actual fact, it's a perfect time to be focusing on you because it's the time when you actually take a break over the Christmas period, you have some downtime away from work, and that gives you time to really reflect on what's important to you about your career and the changes you want to make next year. And that means when you start on your career back from the Christmas break, what's going to happen? You're going to be up and running and ready, well ahead of your colleagues and peers, and ready to get going for 2018. So it's an important time to be focusing on you and your career and making those changes. That's fabulous. Okay, so as I said before, do make sure that you put any comments or questions into the box below as we go along if you've got any thoughts. So let's get started then. My first tip is along the lines of the Stephen Covey quote, which is begin with the end in mind. And when I coach my clients on my career transformation program, I always start with this question, which is, what does career success really mean to you? Because then you can start to work out what's going to happen in the future and what you're trying to achieve. And putting that focus on a goal gives you something to aim towards. I'm a big believer in goals because they give you focus and direction. But as long as you don't tie your self-esteem and your well-being up with that goal, because then you can feel that unless I achieve it, I'm not good enough. But when you think about what your goal is in the future, when I work with clients, they have all sorts of different goals. I've worked with a client who wanted to be the first female director of her company. I've worked with another client who just wanted a career that she felt challenged in, but fitted around her family. And yet another who was very happy in her current job, but she wanted to feel recognised and valued in it. So what your career goal is individual to you, and there's no right or wrong answer. So you may have a career goal about getting a pay rise or promotion in 2018. You may have a career goal that you'd like to speak up more in meetings or perhaps do some presentations and feel comfortable doing it. Some people have career goals about achieving a certain level on their job description, getting certain feedback from their boss. Whatever it is that feels right to you, have a think about what career success really means for you for next year. Some people may already have those career goals in mind, and if you have, please do type them down in the comment box. Let me know if you've got any career goals already in mind for next year. But if you're struggling a bit to come up with a career goal or to really identify it or nail it down, one good thing is to ask yourself this question. And I'm going to write it up on here on my really piece of high technology here, my whiteboard, which I'm just going to put up on here so you can see, because I couldn't get the Facebook Live to share the screen with a PowerPoint. So if anybody knows how to do that, do let me know, please, because that would be great. In the meantime, ask yourself this question. if I knew I couldn't fail, what would I do in my career in 2018? Oh, 2018. So if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you be able to do in 2018? What would be the goal you'd set yourself? Ask yourself that question, and that can really help with clarifying for you what it is that you want to achieve and what it means to you. And it's individual, and as I said, there's no right or wrong. It's just what feels right to you. So when I work with clients on my career transformation program, we go into more depth. We look at the career wheel, we look at your individual values, and we look at visualization of the future. So there's a lot more things you can do, but start with that question about what would I achieve if I knew I couldn't fail. So that's my very first tip, just a short one. But moving on to my second tip, this is all about having a confident mindset, which is very important if you're going to deliver the goals that you've got from the first question. And a confident mindset can mean lots of different things. But today we're going to look at, first of all, conditioning and your beliefs. Secondly, we're going to have a quick look at the inner critic. And thirdly, we're going to look at worrying about what others think, a very common one for women. So in terms of what we believe and what we're conditioned to believe, when we're growing up as females, I often find that women come up with this belief that they need to be good girls, they need to be nice girls, they shouldn't boast, they shouldn't disagree, they shouldn't speak up too loudly. And a lot of that is due to upbringing and conditioning through school. Because if you think about it, when we're at school, I'm not sure this is the same for you, but when I was at school, as a girl, I was rewarded for achieving really well, getting good marks, being polite, being nice, not arguing, not disagreeing with the seniors, all of this sort of thing. So I was rewarded for all of that and thought that's the way to behave. Whereas I noticed that boys were rewarded more for being adventurous or taking risks or leadership type skills. And that's good for us in school because we go on to achieve really well in school, but it doesn't translate quite so well when you get to the workplace culture, because we hold ourselves back then because we don't want to upset people, we don't want to push ourselves forward too much. And that sort of conditioning can really affect the way you achieve career success or not. So have a look at your behaviours. Do you hold yourself back? Do you hold yourself back because you feel you shouldn't do something, or people might dislike you for it, or because it's just not the way to behave as you were brought up? Really think about those different behaviours that you could be showing if you lost that belief. Think about your beliefs and where they might have come from in your background, in your history. Because I know for myself, I was brought up by a wonderful mum, but she lacked quite a lot of self-esteem and she put everybody else's needs before her own, which meant I never had a real role model as a female in terms of being assertive, in terms of going into conflict, or for taking big risks and not fearing failure. So I had to work pretty hard on getting my confidence up and being able to put myself out there for my career. And that's something that a lot of women struggle with. So have a think about your behaviours and your story. How could it have affected how you get on at work? And then secondly, challenge yourself on that. Challenge yourself to step out of that comfort zone and see what happens. Because that's the quickest way to build confidence, stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit and just going there. That can be really helpful. And thirdly, stay present. Try staying present when you're thinking about what you're doing in your career. Don't try and get all worried and thinking about all the things that go around your brain. Stay present. And fourthly, learn some new skills. You know, it's really important to give yourself confidence by learning some new skills. And those skills could be things like assertiveness, speaking up in meetings, being really visible, using new skills like influencing and persuading. All of these things, new skills you can learn. And I use those particular skills with my clients on the career transformation program, and we work through all of those so they have the confidence to use them going forward. Okay, so that's conditioning. Next, let's talk about your inner critic. And that's that little voice that you hear in your head, saying negative things or saying things that make you feel like you can't do things, holding you back. Now, for some people, that voice is just a little whisper. For some people, it's a really loud shout. But for me, where are we? Here we are. For me, it is a squawking parrot. I have this really loud squawking parrot in my ear when my inner critic starts to talk, and I find it really difficult to turn that squawking down so that I can get on with what I'm intending to do. So if you've got an inner critic like that, then it's important to learn to turn that dial down on them. And I had a client called Kim, who, wonderful, funny client, who just recently, while we were working together, got a promotion, which was fabulous. She found it really challenging, really interesting, and she wanted to really enjoy it. But unfortunately, her inner critic voice turned up its volume just at that time, telling her, who do you think you are to be taking a meeting? Who do you think you are? Nobody's going to want to listen to you, or you're going to make a real mistake. And then what are they going to say? Then they're not going to think you're good enough for the job. All of these sort of inner critical voices of imposter syndrome, that sort of thing, were going through her head. And she had a really tough time trying to quieten it down so that she could really focus and be present in the job. So I use a number of techniques and skills with her, but here's 3 of the ones that she found particularly useful. The first is to accept that the inner critical voice, when it's talking to you, is only really trying to ensure that you've got A, control, B, security, or C, approval. So have a listen to your inner critical voice. What's it trying to do? What's it trying to protect you from? Is it protecting you because you might lose control, because you might lose approval, or because you might lose security? Once you can identify what it's trying to protect you from, it's so much easier to quieten that voice down. And then when you hear that voice, try accepting that it's okay to have that voice. It's okay for your inner critic to talk at that moment. You don't want them to talk all the time, but in that moment, that inner critic is talking to you, and that's okay. You can still get on anyway. You can still turn the dial down a little bit, not engage with it, and move on. And of course, as I said before, staying present is really important to calm down that critical voice. The more you're focused on what's going on around you, the more you're listening actively to what other people are doing, watching them, paying attention on the moment, the less you're in your head and listening to your inner critic. So hopefully those things will help you to calm down your inner critic. And for Kim, it worked brilliantly. She's now really happy in her job, loving the challenges, still feels uncomfortable putting herself out there a bit, and the inner critic still is there, but she doesn't need to listen to it nearly as much. And the feedback she's had from her boss for the first 3 months has been fabulous. So let's hope it works for you too. Okay, and the third element then of a confident mindset I wanted to mention today is about worrying what others think. Now, if you're like any of us, we have that issue where we want to be accepted and we want to be liked. It's completely normal that we would want to do that. So, don't feel that something's wrong with you if you do worry about what others think. We all want to be part of a tribe and to belong. But if it's becoming too much and it's really dragging you down and it's stopping you from doing new things or taking new opportunities, that's the time when you really want to think about, is this right? Am I taking it too far? And it's worth remembering that 80% of the time that somebody's talking to you, 80% of the time you're talking to somebody, that's that they're not listening to you. Hopefully that doesn't mean 80% of the time you're not listening to me now, but generally when 80% of the time when somebody's talking to you, you're not listening, you're in your own head, you're thinking about what's for tea, or you're thinking about what you're going to say next. So really, don't worry too much about what you're saying. Secondly, you're never going to know what another person thinks about you. You never can know. You can guess, you can make assumptions, but we'll never know, and we'll never be able to totally control it. So what's the point in worrying about it? There's no benefit to you at all. And thirdly, think about, what are you afraid of? If you're really worried about what other people think, what is it you're afraid of? Are you afraid they might reject you? Or afraid they may say something you don't like. Think about that. And if they did, how awful would that be? You know, sometimes we really worry about what might happen in the future, when actually, if we were more focused on what's happening now and didn't worry about those, it would be so much easier. Okay, so other elements of having a confident mindset are stopping the overthinking when you're going round and round in your head and it's spinning down to going from one little comet down to catastrophe. Others are comparing yourself to others, or the imposter syndrome when you believe that you're going to be found out as a fake, and building resilience. They're all things about a confident mindset. Now, I haven't got time to talk about those today. However, they are things that are part of my career transformation program. So if you'd like to learn more, do let me know. So I promised you 3 tips today. We've covered number 1, which was about what does career success mean to you. We've had a look at number 2 and some of the elements of having a confident mindset. And let's now move on to number 3, which is all about being visible and being out there and promoting yourself. So quick drink. Okay, so being visible and self-promoting is about being proactive. Because in the career workplace today, it's not enough for you to do a good job, work hard, work long hours and deliver. That isn't going to get you the real career success you might dream of. You also need to be visible. You also need to be out there promoting yourself, marketing yourself. And that can feel quite scary to some people. In fact, some women find self-promotion a really dirty word and I'm not going there. A lot of the clients I work with have never even considered promoting themselves or being really visible. So it's a really important part of your toolkit to get career success. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Because, back to my high tech, if we think about how your visibility affects your career success, whoops, there we go. If we have career success down one side and visibility down the other, this pen's working a bit better, fortunately, and visibility down this side. If you have no visibility, you're likely to have no career success. But as you increase your visibility, it doesn't mean you increase your career success until you reach a certain level of visibility. Then at that point, your career success continues to rise. So if you're not visible, you're going to be stuck on this plateau here of career success. And it's not until you become really visible and promote yourself that you're going to see the career success happen. And as you can see, it's not obviously always a straight line, but it is going upwards overall. So that's why it's so important for you to promote yourself, to be visible, to put yourself out there, to speak at meetings and speak at presentations. It's really important. And the 3 aspects of being visible and self-promotion I want to talk about today are, let's just draw you a quick chart. So we've got, over this side, we've got a personal brand. The second element we've got then is self-promotion. That dirty word. And the third element we've got here is escalator pitch. Okay, so these are just 3 of the elements of self-promotion and visibility. I'm not talking about meetings today or presentation skills, just these particular elements. And I'll just give you a brief overview of what we mean by these. So, personal brand. Now, personal brand is, when I'm talking about that, I'm meaning about marketing yourself so that you are, have a consistent approach to when you market yourself to everybody in your career, whether it be internally, externally, for a new job or whatever. So personal brand is made up basically of what you want to be remembered for. So do you want to be remembered for being warm and empathic person for building rapport easily? Or do you want to be remembered for being an expert in your particular technical area? What is it that you want to be remembered for when you leave a meeting or a networking session? What is it you want people to think about you? The second element of personal brand then is, what is different about you? What is your unique selling point? So what is your unique selling point that makes you different from anybody else that does your job? Again, that comes back to thinking about, what are your values, what's important to you, what are your professional and personal strengths that you bring to the job. Identify something that's unique to you, and that can make up your personal brand. And that can be something that therefore you can market out in the career and with other companies or internally. And the third element to personal brand is consistency. So once you've identified what you want to be remembered for and what your unique selling point is, you then need to work out how you can consistently give that message. So we're talking about social media, we're talking about networking, we're talking about internally. All these aspects, you need to have that consistent personal brand, as if you were marketing a product. Okay, so that's personal brand. And now moving on to self-promotion, that dirty word. And by self-promotion, I mean talking about what your successes are and what your potential is. Not just what you've done, but what you could do in the future. And how you self-promote will obviously depend on the situation and who you're talking to. So if we start with the boss, if you're talking to your boss, one good way of self-promoting is to align the success you're talking about to the boss's own goals. So if the boss's goal is all about budgets and hitting budgets, align the success you've had in the way you talk to him to his goal, and he's going to accept it much more easily. He's going to really be involved in it, and he's going to really be interested in what you've got to say and take it on board. Whereas if you are self-promoting to colleagues, you might feel a bit more uncomfortable because there might feel a bit of competition there. But when you're self-promoting to colleagues, it's worth thinking about how I'm supporting and collaborating with them. So you could tell them about something that went really well in a presentation that you did, and how this particular thing worked really well for you and that they might like to try it too. So you're doing it in a supportive and collaborative way. And then the final one is externally. So what if you're wanting to promote yourself externally? That can feel quite uncomfortable, particularly for women. We don't like so much to talk about things that we've done in the past or our successes. It feels a little bit boastful. But all you're doing is speaking up, not necessarily just for you, but for the work you've done. And isn't it important to get the work that you've done out there and heard and noticed? So externally, my suggestion would be, if you're wanting to talk about what you've achieved to potential new clients, put it into a story. Tell a story, and within that story, you can actually talk about your successes. But it's not, the focus isn't entirely on that. It's got a story that they can listen to and follow. Okay, so that's self-promotion. Then the next one I wanted to mention today was the escalator pitch. Now, an escalator pitch is a kind of way of telling everybody what you do. You've probably heard of them before. And it's also a way of, introducing yourself to somebody in a meeting or a networking session. And the important things to remember about escalator pitches, first of all, that it needs to be interesting. Just stating your job title isn't interesting, or what you do. I'm an accountant, or I'm a lawyer, or I work in IT. That isn't going to build a rapport and a conversation, and it doesn't really tell anybody exactly what you do or what benefit you give them. And the second thing to remember is you can't have the same escalator pitch for every single interaction that you have. Where you are depends on the type of the situation, and depends on the type of escalator pitch you use. So for example, if you're in a client meeting, your escalator pitch wants to be focused around what you can do for them. So telling more in depth about exactly how your job works and the detail and minutiae of what you do every day has no interest to the client, a possible client. So you want to have, first of all, some sort of interesting opening, and then you want to tell them the bits of your job that will directly give them benefit. So your escalator pitch can be focused on a story, it can be focused on a particular situation or a particular case that you dealt with, but it just needs to be demonstrating to the client, A, that you're interesting, and B, that they can trust you because this is what you're going to do for them. If you're then in a networking situation, it could be a slightly different escalator pitch. If it's a stand-up 1 minute, then again, it needs to be interesting and talking about what other people can do to refer you to others. But if it's just a general networking chat with a glass of wine and a few nibbles, then in that situation, you don't necessarily get very long with the person. And a lot of it needs to be listening on your part, because a lot of network is actually listening. But when you are talking about yourself, it's important to grab their interest and to give them something that they can talk about or question you about further to build that rapport. So in those terms, I, for example, might say to somebody, I open career doors for professional women, because that then makes them think, what does she mean by that? I open career doors for professional women. Okay, so what do you mean by opening doors? And that gives them something to hang on. I haven't just said, well, I'm a coach. I have given them something a little bit interesting and something to ask questions about. And that's what's important for your escalator speech in a networking session. Okay, and the final one in here is on an internal meeting. So in an internal meeting, you may know some of the people already, and just giving your job title isn't really enough. It's not going to be of interest. So my suggestion there would be that you really give them more in terms of what value you're going to add to the meeting. You know, I've come along to this meeting because or what value you're going to add to the project maybe that you're all working on. So keep the focus of the escalator pitch then on specifically the meeting or the project or whatever it is that you're collaborating on. Okay. Well, that's a whistle-stop tour through self-promotion and being visible with your personal brand and escalator pitch. And as I've said, there's a huge amount of other things to do with being visible that I cover in the Career Transformation Program. But it's all about being proactive, and it's all about putting yourself out there, getting seen, making connections, getting your personal brand out there so people know what you stand for and what they can trust and rely on you for. So I promised you 3 tips, and I've given you the first one on beginning with the end in mind and working out for yourself, what does career success mean for you? And I suggested using the question about if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you achieve in your career in 2018? I then talked about the confident mindset and how you can deal with your beliefs and your conditioning, which may be holding you back. Also worrying about what others think and that inner critical voice. Yes, my parrot's still here. Still worrying about what others think. And thirdly, I taught a brief journey into what being visible and being out there to promote yourself means, and we've taught personal brand, self-promotion and escalator pitches. So I hope you found that helpful, and if you put those into action in 2018, then I promise you will have the best career year ever. But you need to take action and you need to make changes. So if you've got any questions, do pop them into the comment box that I hope you can see down there. And whilst you're doing that, I'll just tell you a little bit about my program that I've run hugely successfully with clients previously. I've helped one client a few months ago to be able to go in and negotiate for a pay rise, despite it wasn't the end of year time. She went in, negotiated, and came successfully out with a pay rise. And that's fantastic. As she said, it's something that she'd never done before, would never have done before the coaching. And a client this very week who's just told me she's been offered a promotion. She never asked for it. She never put herself out there. She was seen as having developed and having improved, and therefore the bosses had just taken her on board and said, "Yeah, we want you to do this." So fantastic! It really works. But my program is a 6-step, 6-module program where we work through some of the elements we've talked about today in a lot more detail. And we work through some other things in terms of communication, like assertiveness, influencing and persuading. We look at speaking up in meetings. We look at presentation skills. We look at managing conflict and difficult relationships, and how to manage your boss and colleagues, and how to have a career vision and the steps needed to get there. So there's loads more within my career program, and it works by one-to-one individual coaching with on practical life situations that you come up with day to day, as well as theory and skills. I provide exercises, videos, and a lot of content to support you during that time. And I also offer group calls, which aren't obligatory, that you can join in and chat to other people on the program. So if you'd like to learn more about this, then I have a great offer for you today. I'm offering you a free career consultation with me, and that will allow you to talk about your specific career challenges and what you want to overcome. And you'll come away with 3 key actions to rock your career in 2018. And all you have to do to get that is to go on to www.speakwithjo.com, and that takes you directly to my online calendar. You can book your free career consultation, and I'd love to speak to you and chat to you some more about all of this. As you can see, I'm really passionate about helping women to have the confidence, the courage, and the skills to really rock their careers. Because every time I help somebody to improve their career, I feel like I'm making a fairer playing field for my daughter and for all our daughters for their careers in the future. So I'm passionate about it, and I'd really love to talk to you. And you can book your free call at www.speakwithjo.com. I hope you found this really helpful. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and do come in touch with me, and I hope we'll be speaking over the next few days. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and this is Jo Painter of confidencecoachingforwomen.co.uk.